So this is the Mazda CX-9. It's one of the most good-looking SUVs you can buy right now. It's actually Mazda's flagship. I think it's the most underrated Mazda model they have. So for 2021, they have the Ignite Edition, which is basically a gloss black treatment for the exterior and interior as well. Gloss black front grille, this 3D effect logo over here, which houses the Mazda radar cruise control, all the sensors. On the side, you get 20-inch gloss black wheels. You also get gloss black side mirrors. And at the back, actually at the rear end, I don't see anything different. This is the CX-9 as we know it. It's not a bad thing. This car has one of the best looking rear ends of any Mazda, in fact. This chrome strip over here to break up all the red is really well done. It's just more sculpted. This 3D effect tail lamp, which sculpts around the corners of the car. It's just very nice. Great looking car. Getting it out into the world, that's where the CX-9 should really shine. From the start, it's really surprising how easy it is to drive. And getting it out of the showroom meant moving it through some tight spaces, but that 360-degree camera system made it a breeze. First impressions, this doesn't feel like a big SUV. Getting in and out is very easy as the H-point is about hip level, steering is light, seating position feels natural and sporty, I guess. Pedals are very nicely weighted, the controls fall easy to hand. On the road it feels quick and nimble at slow and higher speeds. That athleticism is something you associate with much smaller cars physically. So once I ignore the fact that I was sitting higher off the ground than usual, it really does feel like a Mazda CX, which is one of the best handling saloon cars out there. That's not supposed to be possible. Alright, so now that we have the car to ourselves, this is a really nice interior. Mazdas are known for nice interiors. This is no exception. Of course, this is the highest end flagship CX-9, and it really shows. Like I said before, the stitching, the feel of everything is so nice. And you have this sunroof just bathing light into this gorgeous interior. And it really just showcases how good Mazda has gotten in creating an experience inside the car. Everything just shimmers. And the red leather, this kind of red wine, burgundy they call it, shade, gives it a really nice sort of really upper class premium feel. This is more, I would say, sporty, but also more classy because it kind of matches the exterior too. You have the red stitching, so it makes sense that you have the red interior leather. Very, very nice. One thing about Mazda, the ergonomics is excellent. So you have all your controls over here. Most of everything is a button, so there's no like weird touch interface where you don't have any like tactile feedback. Everything is just really well damped, really well damped. And the feel and everything, it's so, you can just kind of close your eyes and operate everything with muscle memory. And I would never stop advocating for Mazda's rotary control knob over here. Instead of having to just like jab at a screen this way, you could just rotate the screen control knob over here and you would just not crash. That's great. And so it is still a touchscreen, by the way. You can still poke it if you want to. But the differences between the 2020 CX-9 and this newer 2021 CX-9 is wireless CarPlay. So right now I have my iPhone over here and it's connected to the MZD Connect infotainment over there, but with no wires. And there's a wireless charger down here. So ideally I would just place my phone down there. It's charging and secure, and it'll load up CarPlay and play my songs and load up my destinations on the map, and it's all great. And of course, it'll be piped in through the Bose sound system, which sounds amazing. And I'm just here comfortable in my Mazda with a sunroof, enjoying the wonderful interior. So, CX-9, rear seats. Obviously the best place to be in the CX-9 is the front seats. But at the back, it's really plush and comfortable. In fact, I wouldn't mind sitting down here for a nice long trip from Singapore to Thailand. I wouldn't mind, because it's really comfortable over here. The seats are very comfortable and they kind of support you as well. And the way they actually curve in front this way, it gives you a little bit more knee room. Nothing, in fact, it's not like limousine level, but you do get a lot of knee room. And you get even dual seat pockets over here. So it's really plush. The color I've mentioned before It's really nice. It's a burgundy, that's what they call it, okay? And let's say I want even more knee room, or if I want to be really cruel to the third row occupants, I can just actually slide this whole thing forward. That's pretty practical. Of course, you get like a really also, just look how much elbow room I have over here. It's like an airline. It's like business class. I can actually open this up. I'm not sure what I can fit over here. It's pretty shallow, maybe an iPad mini or a big phone. 2 USB plug points, and of course 2 cup holders. It's just a really nice place to be. Of course, you have your own independent air conditioning controls. You get temperature and fan speed controls, and your own Bose speakers on each side. Yeah, this is a nice place to be. So, I've been driving the CX-9 for a few days now, and I gotta say, big surprise here. I really like it. I really like it. The thing is, this car is the kind of car that surprises you, and that's why I say that this is probably Mazda's best kept secret. I mean, you know it's the flagship, it's the biggest car, you can't miss it. But it kind of goes under the radar because you figure you know what it is. It's a big SUV. And I need it if I need a big SUV for all those, XYZ reasons. But no, it's surprising because it works so much more than just a big SUV. Let me explain. So really, I wanted to figure out what the CX-9 was all about. How versatile, besides just space, how versatile can you have a CX-9? And the answer, as I found out over the last few days, is very versatile. And I wanted to know how this car would fit into like the normal daily grind. So I went to get groceries several times. Just way more shopping than I usually would do. Of course, it handled that very well. I went on to get some coffee runs all over Klang Valley, for science. I just came back from one actually. I dug up my old golf set and went to de-stress at the driving range, and the CX-9 obviously played that part perfectly too. It's the kind of car that you could park at a fancy lobby, okay, or a night out, and it'll make a statement. You can leave it there and it'll gain admirers just looking at it. It's big, it's imposing, but it's so well proportioned and so handsome that you forget it's actually a very practical SUV. And so that's the thing about the CX-9. It's all those things, and it doesn't just excel at being very spacious. It excels at being an object. The company's design language, called Kodo Soul of Motion, unites all their cars. It began with the first generation CX-5 from 2012, but it's been refined and improved much since then. It has definitely aged very well, coming across as aesthetically timeless. I mean, just look at the CX-9. The front end is all menace and purposeful angularity. It's instantly recognizable. The subtle contours and character lines soften the sense of heft but add visual drama, especially when the light hits this gorgeous soul red crystal finish. Overall, the CX-9 is all about finely tuned proportions. Some smaller cars try to look sportier and more aggressive. Some bigger cars try to look more elegant and imposing. But this strikes a great balance. Every person so far that I brought into this car has said, wow, this is a nice car. They have actually just I haven't asked them, hey, what do you think about this car? They've actually come out and said oh, wow, this is a nice car. That's rarer than you think, okay? If people think it's a nice car, I would sit in a nice car and I might say something down the road, but I wouldn't be compelled to go, hey, I gotta tell you, this is a nice car. But everyone so far, and I've brought at least 6 people in this car separately just to see their reactions, have all remarked that this is a really, they don't actually use fancy words to describe how this is a nice car. They just know, and the word that they associate with that is nice. This is a nice car. Okay, niceness, luxury, and premium appointments are all well and good, but does this CX-9 drive like a Mazda should? That sense of agility that I felt initially has not diminished. It loves to corner this thing. I was so shocked at how it cornered so confidently, even in the wet, that I'm driving the two-wheel drive version. The all-wheel drive CX-9, which I recommend over the two variants, must be even more impressive to match the power plant under that bonnet. Here we have Mazda's only turbocharged engine in the Skyactiv G family. And to be honest, it feels like a naturally aspirated engine since it has so little turbo lag and is so linear in its delivery. But big reserves of power are just on hand. It's 2.5 liters, 4 cylinders, and producing 228 horsepower and 420 Newton meters of torque. And that might not sound super groundbreaking, but believe me, this car is quick, okay? It's zippy and effortless in a way that you wouldn't expect with those numbers, especially because of how heavy this is. This is like a 2-ton SUV. Make no mistake, this is a big car, but it drives effortlessly because of that engine and because of the way the Skyactiv drive gearbox is kind of tuned. The logic behind it, it kind of anticipates the gear you want to be in and just slots you in. You don't really have to use the pedals. There are gear shift pedals over here. I haven't really used them, to be honest, because it's so intelligent in how it just slots you in the right gear when you want it to. It's intuitive. But of course, you can use the pedals and they work really well. For a long time now, Mazda has been investing heavily in ways to make their cars safer and safer all the time. Not only to improve structural integrity and crash deformation, but how to prevent an accident from happening altogether. So iActive Sense is, as the name implies, Mazda's active safety suite. And so you get over here blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, rear cross traffic alert, and importantly, you get Mazda radar cruise control. It actually has a radar sensor ahead of you at the front of the car that senses and computes where the cars are in relation to you and how fast you're going. And so whenever you pull up to a car that slows down, your car slows down with it instead of a passive cruise control system that you would have to press the brake for. And when the car accelerates, you will accelerate and maintain that gap, a gap that you can actually control with a pedal over here, with a button over here on the steering wheel. So if you want to keep a more generous distance, you can just do that. If you want to close the gap a little bit, you can do that over here too. Very nice. And importantly, it has what Mazda calls its AEB system, Autonomous Emergency Braking System. It's called Smart City Brake Support. Essentially what that does is that it can react. It's always looking forward, using that radar sensor and other, like a camera or something, to look out over the traffic ahead and spot when something is approaching you too quickly, and are you reacting? If you're not reacting, first of all, if you don't react in time, regardless if you react in time, it'll beep at you. Beep, 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 just to alert you to brake. And either if you're not paying attention or you're not braking hard enough, it'll actually brake for you and is able to brake the car in a much quicker reaction time than any human can. This feature saves lives. So really, you gotta ask yourself, how much of a badge snob are you? Everything about this car is literally beating its rivals in the premium space. But the only thing that it doesn't have is maybe the prestige factor of being a premium manufacturer from the start. Okay? Other automakers like Audi, like Mercedes-Benz, BMW have this, they command a certain price because they occupy a certain tier. Mazda is in that tier, even though they're not really shouting about it. They want you to know it's premium without having to be too much in your face about it. And that, to me, is kind of interesting, because if you see another CX-9 out there, and I do see more on the road these days, you kind of have to go and okay, that guy knows what, that guy or girl knows what he's doing. They had the option to go a different route with a certain car. They could have bought something else from with the German mark, but they didn't, because they saw the quality of the CX-9. They saw the quality of the interior. They saw the quality of its drive, the refinement, its performance. You don't get this performance for this kind of price with 7 seats. You just don't. And, you know, like when you see that on the road, you go like, yeah, knowing not. That's someone who is discerning. This is what it's all about, isn't it? Because after a few days of the Mazda CX-9, it's a cliche, but I don't want to give this car back. It's a car that I didn't think would fit into my life really well, but it did because it's so practical. And I'm not used to having a practical car. I'm used to having a very small car. This is a very big car. So fitting it into like a parking spot might be challenging, but everything else, it does really well. It drives well. It's so refined and comfortable inside and luxurious that I mentioned. It looks phenomenal every time I get out of the car. Even though it's so big, it's imposing but graceful with the Kodo design. And it's just one of those cars that fits into your life. You wouldn't think it's good to drive or easy to park, but it is. Because, I don't know, it just feels wrapped around you. Like I said, I don't want to give the car back, but I have to. Everything that it did so well because everything like putting golf bags inside, groceries, all those lifestyle things that you would think it might struggle with or it might do overkill to, didn't. It's a perfect fit.